Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse and to the Warehouse interview. Joining me today is the one and only Kurt Baker, the power pop maestro who's been cranking out infectious hooks since his days in the Leftovers. He's just dropped a new single, Undertoe Afterglow, backed by a stellar cover of Paul McCartney's My Brave Face. We're going to keep it loose. We want to hear from you in the chat. Let's do it.
Serving up riffs hotter than Hellfire Chili with a beer chaser. Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and today we have a special guest. Kurt Baker's here with me, and Kurt, thanks so much for joining me today in the warehouse. I don't even know where to begin, but we're just going to talk about, you've got a new single that just dropped, right. A week ago?
Yeah, a little under a week, last Friday, the 9th.
Undertoe Afterglow, and the flip side is My Brave Face. So right. I do want to talk about that, but I want to talk about influences, how you started off as a musician. You grew up in Maine, correct?
That's right, Portland, Maine. Born and raised in Portland, Maine.
Now, what in the hell is in Portland? What was the music scene like in Portland, Maine? And you grew up? You were born in the 80s, right?
Well, yeah, I was born in 1987. So to be honest with you, for a city the size of Portland, which is, it's the biggest city in Maine, but that's not saying that much, right? For the size of the city, it's always had a really great music and art scene. So growing up, I grew up in downtown Portland. So there was always these clubs around, and there was a few venues that were accessible for, teenagers. So there's a lot of all ages gigs. I remember there was this one venue called The Skinny, and the owner would always do these all ages shows on Sundays. I think he'd get bands to come and they would do an all ages show. And then later on they do, the bar show. But it really was amazing because I got to see all these great rock and roll bands when I was 13, 14. And then, when I started playing in bands, there was also just these great spaces like AmVets halls and Legion halls and things like that, where you could do, punk rock and ska and all that, I was into back then, but just many opportunities to play. So that was great. And then, as my, first band started, gigging more, we already had, the basic understanding of how to, do all these tours and shows and things like that because of what we had in Portland. So, it was a really great place to grow up.
But so did you start playing guitar or bass? What did you start out on when you first started playing?
I actually started on bass. So and bass is still kind of my instrument. I always kind of go right to the bass. But I also started playing guitar because, writing songs, it's a lot more difficult to do it on a bass. But yeah, I started on bass, and that's really kind of always been in my instrument. But lately, in the last, I guess 10 years or so, I moved to Spain and I started a version of my band, the Kurt Baker Combo there. And I had to play guitar in that band because my manager at the time, Wancho, he is just a great guy, but he was like, I'm playing the bass. So I was like, all right, well then I guess
okay.
Right. So on the new single, Undertoe Afterglow and the B-side, on these recordings, I'm actually doing both the guitar and bass. And this is actually one of the first times that I've done, completely everything on the bass and guitar. The engineer, Jeff Sanoff, added a few lead bits, but most of it's all me. But I think it's having that experience, being a bass player and then kind of going to the guitar, is kind of, now I feel confident to be able to do both on one of my records. So I feel pretty good about that. Well,
I must say, by listening to the new single, I was totally blown away because when I was approached to do this interview, this is what, they sent me this and I went,
yeah,
holy crap. Because me being a big power pop guy, and everybody who watches this channel knows, I love freaking power pop.
Well, I'm seeing all the records you got behind you,
Cheap Trick, the Knack, 2020.
Yeah.
That's a That's the Knack round trip promo
Oh, I
poster.
love that record. Yeah. I mean, it's
My
kind of
favorite-
underrated, you know?
Kurt, my favorite Knack album is Round Trip.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good. People forget about it, you know?
Critics slammed it, but that was that whole. See, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go on a tangent, so just brace yourselves. But that whole thing where the critics just—I don't know what it was, because you know, did you listen to the Knack when you were a kid or anything? I mean, there's probably a lot of influences that you kind of absorbed.
Of course. I mean, you know, growing up, I took in a ton of different influences. Mostly it was rooted in, you know, 60s oldies stuff that I was hearing on the radio. But you know, the radio was like really, you know, in the 90s, yeah.
Great record.
I know. Oh, Small Faces are my favorite. I was actually just talking about how
this is just going to go crazy today.
But,
all right, go ahead.
But yeah, so like Knack, Power Pop, all that like new wave stuff, I started hearing that also, you know, on the radio, and immediately, you know, just loving it. And, you know, My Sharona is like that, of course. So that's the song that you first hear from the Knack, really. But like, I was just, you know, you can say what you will about that song, but it rocks, you know,
it does.
And that solo, I mean, it doesn't get old for me.
Oh, Burton's solo. See, people, now we're talking Knack. We haven't even gotten into it yet. A lot of people I don't think, give that genre of music a fair shake, because to really play power pop effectively, you really have to be a good musician, for one, because of and I was listening to the new single that you just dropped this week. And for a bass player who is playing guitar, sir, I must applaud you, because the guitars on there freaking kick.
Well, you know, it's
what are you playing through a Vox Super Beetle with a?
Yeah,
what the hell is this? A Vox Super Beetle with a Rickenbacker 330? That's what it sounds
something like that. Yeah, we have like, so I'm actually in the studio where we recorded the song. So we've got all kinds of great gear here. So, you know, and I actually was, I think most of the single I was using like Hofner bass, and then we got the Rickenbackers and all that. But yeah, so like back to, you know, just my influences, you know, it's something that I've been absorbing for so long. Right. But I do feel like with this new single, it's a accumulation of many things. Like, so not only just, you know, the music that I've been loving for so long, but also just the kind of things that were happening in my life. And I, you know, I moved to New York City about a little under a year ago, and a lot of crazy personal things happened. And this was my first chance to get into the studio and record and do something. So gotcha. I don't know, it just feels like for me, it's one of the most honest records I've made. And that comes down to the lyrics, that comes down to the performance and the playing. So it's like, you know, I kind of put my heart and soul into it. And also going back to what you were saying about, you know, musicians in power pop, I think it's really important to remember that power pop is so like based on the songwriting. You got to have a good song. You know, so you have to have an understanding of arrangements, and you have to have an understanding of harmony and melody to really effectively do power pop. Because, you know, you can play, you know, these like power pop chords, but if you don't have a good strong melody under like over those chords, or, you know, it's not going to be anything memorable. And power pop has to be memorable. That's the whole thing about it, you know. So.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. But the other thing is My Brave Face, which is the B side.
Yes.
Oh, well, I applaud you for tackling that, because, you know, you listen to that record and, you know, his work with Elvis Costello. I like Spike. I like Paul and Elvis I like Spike quite a bit. Actually, just between us, that's a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I think Spike is an absolute masterpiece.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Elvis and Paul collaborating on it, and, you know, Veronica, where you got Paul playing bass. Elvis is playing his Rick or whatever. You know, he made Paul McCartney bring out his Rickenbacker bass out of the Warehaus, and it's phenomenal. But I never was all that keen on the production of that record, Paul McCartney, because I always thought it was very commercial, and I think
Are you Flowers in the Dirt?
Flowers in the Dirt. I always thought,
and then it kind of gets even a little worse when he goes to Off the Ground, I think it is. But like that's an issue with that kind of.
I know. But
era,
what I'm trying to say, Kurt, is what you've done with it. You have brought it into. You have your arrangement, your playing, the production. You have transformed in this song into the way I think. It's like a breath of fresh air. This is the way it should be. Well, you have interpreted Elvis and Paul McCartney. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's crap. You can hear a lot of different versions of the song and see how the progression of where it went. And I think what happened was, when Paul ended up doing My Brave Face, he took it into that kind of more commercial area, he slowed it down, and it kind of lost that vibe of, Elvis and Paul kind of like Elvis kind of being the John Lennon, and they're singing at each other, and that synergy that happened, it got lost.
Yeah,
it was Paul's, like, I think one of his last big hits. But yeah, I mean, I love kind of deconstructing tracks too, and My Brave Face really spoke to me, lyrically, but also just there are some these melodic moments in the song that I'm like, I want to get back to the essence of it. So, it was a lot of fun to record that one too. And then, we kind of did this like psychedelic-y kind of outro, which I was tapping into, like, all right, like Paperback Writer, like 66, 67 Beatles kind of, stuff, like trying to make it kind of revolver-esque, and then, so that, like, on the musical side, there's that. And then I've been compared to Elvis Costello for my voice for years. And so I kind of leaned into that for a long time, kind of tried to get away from it for a while, but now it's like, I can't really escape it.
Well, you sound like you. I mean, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? But yeah, so, like, vocally, it's got that Elvis Costello, late 70s kind of vibe. And then the music, the direction was kind of going into that kind of more Paperback Writer, kind of 60s kind of thing. But yeah, I'm really excited how that came out too. And the reception so far has been great. So I'm really happy that you enjoy it.
Yeah, it sounds real fresh. It almost sounds like, I don't know. It just sounds very fresh. It almost sounds like a rebirth to me. It just sounds like when you listen to it, you can hear the joy, you can hear the passion, you can hear.
Well, I mean, as a musician, as a recording artist, if you're able to do that, then you've succeeded.
Right. So, played bass on it. You got you have a Hofner. You have a violin, Hofner Beatle bass.
We're doing I played the violin bass on that one. I think I actually did. Yeah, on both tracks. Maybe. I know that we've got this. It's a Fender bass. The bass player from Green Day actually gave it to the studio here, and it's like, it looks like kind of a Telecaster-y body, but
like a Telecaster bass or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
like a hybrid. Really fun to play. So I think I played that one on Undertow Afterglow, and then the Hofner on My Brave Face.
So what? I have to talk guitars real quick. I can't help myself because the guitar tone on the single, I just can't get enough of it. So what were you playing on that, and what were you playing through?
Well, yeah, so that we did a combination of Marshall and Vox amplifiers. And then, the guitar, so there was, I did play a Rickenbacker, and then I also was doing, we had a Les Paul. So like a really nice Les Paul black one. And that, I think, that's what I played most of Undertow Afterglow on, was that Les Paul. We sprinkled it with some Rickenbacker stuff.
Sprinkled it on top.
Yeah. And then, on My Brave Face, I played a lot of acoustic on that track. So like that's really kind of the main rhythm guitar in that, which is kind of interesting because I usually don't do that very often. But it was just, this Martin. So I was sitting basically where I am right now, just strumming away on it. And
Nice.
yeah, that was fun. I like strumming.
So, I mean, you've got these first two singles out, but
Yes.
there must be more coming.
Right. Well, yeah. So basically, I mean, my life right now in New York is pretty busy because I work for a record label and I'm producing radio as well. So really, like this last year, I've been focused on that because I moved here from Spain, where I was really kind of playing for the majority of the time over there. So I have this new gig, but again, it's like I have all this inspiration now, and I want to write, and I have been working a lot with my friend Dan Miraldi, who wrote Undertoe Afterglow with me, and we've got a bunch of songs, kind of all ready to get recorded. We did a couple other tracks. The idea is to do an album, but kind of right now just focusing on the songs, like each song. So if we've got two others right now that we're working on that are going to get mixed. So maybe we'll throw those on the album, or maybe there'll be another single. But I definitely see myself doing a lot more recording this year, and hopefully we'll have a new album out by the beginning of 2027.
Awesome. Yeah. Looking forward to it. Now, let me ask you this. So a kid in Portland, Maine, how did you end up in Spain?
Right.
And then why did you end up in New York? You've been a busy boy, Kurt.
I wish New York rhymed with Maine and Spain, but it doesn't.
It doesn't.
I only want to live in
we almost had a song, but no.
No, right? So Spain, I had a band called The Leftovers that we started in high school, and we took that for as far as we could, and we started touring in Europe. And when we went there, I was just completely blown away by Spain because it was one of the countries that I really didn't know anything about. We get there and the clubs are packed and everyone knows our songs. And it's like, Europe was good for us, but we never saw anything like that. And we're like, wow. So, we went back the next year and again, it was amazing. The band breaks up. But I start my kind of solo project, and I'm like, well, first thing I got to do is I got to go to Spain. So basically, like to play and just, so I was going to Spain every year from 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, and doing these great tours over there. I was kind of getting tired of living in Maine, obviously. And I was thinking about other places to relocate. And I was thinking, okay, Boston. I don't really want to do Boston. New York, it was kind of too big for me at the time. And then I was like, well, why not try Madrid? Why not try Spain? Because I walking down the street there, people would come up to me and be like, hey, I like your music. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that feeling, to feel like, your music is appreciated, it's a wonderful feeling, obviously. But I wanted to go where, I could tour and make kind of more of a living off of it because I was getting, better deals and, it was great. So I ended up moving there in 2013 and just to kind of see what would happen. And I've kind of just fell into it, and I was there for about 12 years almost.
Wow.
During the pandemic, I kind of went back and forth a bit. My ex-wife is from there, so we were kind of going back and forth. Then I lived another year there until I got this call from my boss, who's little Steven Van Zandt, and he said, hey, Kurt, I'm going to need you to be working for the company, and I want you here in New York. And so it had been in my mind to move to New York because then after, 12 years in Madrid and Spain, that was, enough. Time to change it up again. So, as fate would have it, I got offered to work for Steven's record label, which is Wicked Cool Records, which
a lot of great stuff on that
the label that I'm on. Sorry?
Well, I said there's a lot of great stuff on that label.
Oh yeah, definitely. We have a great roster. So and I'm lucky to be a part of it as well. So I got into the job here, and I've been lucky to bring this perspective as an artist, so yeah. I know what it's like to be signed to the record label, and now I'm seeing the other side of it. But I think that gives me the ability to really connect with everyone that's on the label and talk to them. Hey, I've been through this before with this or that. I know what it's like to get out on the road. I know what it's like to, many things, an assortment of things that happen when you're a artist on a record label. So, that's kind of the story why I'm here in New York City.
So you were working for little Steven when you were in Spain. So you had the gig there, and then he had you come over?
It's kind of crazy, and I can't. Sometimes it's hard for me to get it all straight myself. But I had been signed to Wicked Cool Records since 2016, and I was still living in Spain. So I put out 2 records with my Spanish band on the label. Then I ended up doing another record with my original band that did like my first couple records, Brand New Beat, Play It Cool. So we did another record called After Party. I was still living in Spain, but I had come back to the States to record it. Pandemic hit, couldn't do anything. Kind of went over the States again, reconnected with those guys. We did another record, but then I got asked to be a DJ on the Underground Garage. So I was a DJ for a little bit. I had a show, and I was still I had gone back to Spain at that time, but then my show got kind of canceled. But because it wasn't canceled it got canceled, but I didn't lose a job.
Well, I'm trying to think, because I listened to that, and I'm trying to remember.
No, cool.
I'm trying to remember if I even when were you doing that? What year?
Oh, so it wasn't that long ago, but I'd say it was from middle of 2023 up until about a year, 2023 to 2024.
Buddy and mine, we're going on the little Steven Underground Garage cruise.
That would be a lot of fun.
Are you going to be on that?
I don't know. I might.
The lineup is great, but all those bands. I used to go. Originally, I would go on the 80s cruise every year, but then I thought that the 80s, I love the 80s cruise because you get to see a lot of artists because they're in international waters. They're not going to play over here in the States. They're playing out in international waters because of tax purposes.
Oh, there you go. Wow, I didn't even think of that.
So you get to see a lot of, I would never saw Kim Wilde. I would never have seen Soft Cell probably. There were a lot of different bands, but I just thought kind of last year's lineup was a little bit. And Buddy said, "Man, we should just go on the little Steven cruise." And I said, "Well, if you want a roommate, I'll go with you." My wife was like, "I've been there, I'll go. I've been there with you because all you do is go check out all these damn bands all day."
Right. So, well, that's what you got to do.
My buddy Ken said, "Well, we can go. We'll just roommate, split the cost, and we can just go and see all these bands."
You're gonna have a great time.
Yeah, because this is going to be like the second year.
Second year, that's right. Yeah,
Social Distortion's playing. Well, there's a whole bunch of bands.
Yeah, there's a lot. You'll have to. I can't think of everyone off the top of my head, but it's a pretty stacked lineup.
It'd be nice to see you play on it.
Someday. I'm
hoping.
I think it will happen. Yeah.
Hoping. Now that I just talked about the damn cruise, now I got all sidetracked. So anyway, you're hoping. So you did a lot of traveling, lived in Spain, New York, Portland, blah, blah, blah. You think you're going to be staying in New York for a while, Kurt? You think?
I think so. I mean, it was a big enough task to move here anyway. So
I can't imagine.
Stick around. And I got to say, I love New York City. I love going out to see music. And, I know a lot of people that love DJing. They DJ great records. And so there's so much to do here. There's so much to see. So I don't see myself going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, let me ask you this just real quick. I don't want to keep you too long. You're a busy man. You're in the studio, damn it.
I'm having a great time talking with you.
Okay, good. Well, we're loose. We're keeping it real in the field, Kurt.
That's right.
Anyway, when you were a kid, I'm always fascinated because I have this story and I've told people before, but what was your come to Jesus moment? What was the moment when you were a kid? Okay.
Yeah.
And you heard, I don't know, what artist was it? What record was it that you heard? Because you remember when you're young, you have that passion. You know how everything is shiny and new.
Yeah.
And when I was 13, 14, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're taking everything in and it's just like,
Well,
and you were still young enough that when a record came out, it was, I think more of an event. Because when I was a kid,
totally. Yeah.
you didn't have the internet. You didn't know. You have to look like at Rolling Stone or Cream or Hit Parade to know what's going on. They'd be going, okay, there's going to be a new Styx album coming out. Cornerstone's coming out or whatever, and you're waiting for months and months and months.
You remember the release date. You're like, oh, all right. So I know that on this day I can go down to the record store and pick up this album. Now release dates don't even really matter, right? I mean, it's like, yeah, they matter, but
that doesn't matter.
It's not an event, right?
It's not an event like it was. But you used to go to these concerts when you're a kid or when you're younger and going, my God, we're going to go see name it. And it was an event. It was something you look forward to. But I've told the story, but my whole gateway drug or my come to Jesus, the clouds part moment was when I heard. Now I grew up in the 70s and I hadn't heard anything. My parents liked Lawrence Welk. They were from the 40s. They like Benny Goodman.
Hey, I love that stuff too,
but my entryway was I heard I Want to Hold Your Hand and She Loves You. That was the very first thing I ever heard when I was a kid. And I thought,
what is going on?
I never heard anything like it.
What is happening?
What was your moment? What was your moment?
Well, that's so funny that that it was the Beatles for you, because it was the Beatles.
Thank God.
Me. I was born in '87. I don't have any brothers or sisters. My dad is an artistic guy, but he's not a musician. My mom loves music, but she's not a musician either. But they are not into rock and roll.
Okay.
So they never had like rock and roll music playing when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
However, I remember this. It's one of my first memories because it was one of these moments where after it happened, I was like, I'm changed. I know what to do with my life. And I was 5 years old, right? So I remember this.
My God.
I remember my uncle. So I was in Wisconsin actually visiting family. And my uncle had us all in this van. We were driving to a lake or something. And he's like, hey, Kurt, you want to listen to some music? And I'm sitting in the back. I'm like, yeah, put something on, of course. Mm-hmm. So he pops in Beatles, Rubber Soul. And the first thing I hear is the word. So dun, 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 dun. And it's something just in me just made me start, like, I wanted to just move and I wanted to like mimic the music and like pretend that I was like, I just felt it. And it was like, from that moment, hearing the word by the Beatles, I knew that I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to make music like that. I wanted to feel that energy that that music gave me. And it was such an impactful moment in my life. I remember it. I remember hearing it, and I've never. I don't think. I mean, I haven't forgotten it for a reason because it was that important. You know what I mean? Yep. So, like, I don't remember things that I did yesterday, but
when you're a kid, shiny and new, you're so impressionable. Right. Like when I heard those Beatle 45s, I thought, where did someone just drop this from outer space?
Right.
I'd never heard it before. I couldn't get enough of it. I told my neighbors, I said, can I borrow these 45s?
Sure.
Took them home on my little record player and played them over and over and over and
Right.
over. I was
Totally.
hooked. And that's when I started just going crazy.
Well, so another interesting thing that you were saying, because we didn't have like the internet back then.
No.
So, my mom, so sweet when I was like, the Beatles, I need the tape. So she's like, okay, well, I'll go get you the tape. I remembered how the word went, the song, because just after hearing it that one time, and like the piano and then the bass and then the harmonies, my mom got she got Revolver, so she gives me Revolver, and I'm listening. I'm like, this is amazing, but where's that song? And I didn't realize that it was a different album. So it basically, through the years, I got all the Beatles albums.
Of course.
But then I was like, well, what's this Revolver? Like, oh my God, like. Crazy.
Well, I had to beg my parents. I begged my parents. I said, "Oh my God, I've heard this band. I was pleading. I'm just like 10 years old. Right. I said, can you give me? I didn't have any money. I probably got an allowance, but
sure.
I didn't know how much records cost.
Right.
I rode my bike downtown and went to Kresge's, which was in downtown where I grew up, and bought. I had enough money for Beatles 62 to 66.
Yeah, great. And
I went there,
all and then right there.
Then for like birthdays and whenever I could get money together, I would just go get another one. So I think I had that first, and then my cousin bought me Magical Mystery Tour, and that was, of course, it's like I couldn't get enough of it. But
it's
one of those things.
What I love too, like about the Beatles, was that they had, and for a kid, it's just amazing because all of the material that they had out there, and like visually too. So like their movies. When I started watching Hard Day's Night and I started seeing Help and seeing them in action and watching them play, it was like I want to do exactly that, and so. I guess like I heard the Beatles for the first time when I was 5, like literally like a year later, for this talent show at my elementary school. I convinced 3 of my friends, and I still know the 3 of them, so let's pantomime Can't Buy Me Love and act like the Beatles. So our moms had a lot of fun dressing us up. The dad of the drummer, the Ringo guy, he made like a fake drum set out of like a beer making kit that he had, and then we just had these guitars and all this. So we get up on stage, and like most of the kids in the audience are like they don't understand, but the parents are loving it. But I also remember that moment too, just being on stage. I wasn't even singing or really playing. I was just pretending, but that feeling of like the lights in your face and then hearing the applause and I was just channeling the Beatles, but that also made me that did it. I was like, all right, I'm in. I don't know what else I'm ever going to do except for live and breathe music, playing, performing, writing, any of that. It's like, that's what I'm going to do. I could have been a dentist maybe, but.
Well, all I can say must have been a blessing, the fact that it was the Beatles, just like me.
Right.
But for you being, what were you, like 91 or something? 92?
Well, so
you were 5.
This would have been the early 90s, right? And then so like
it could have been Nirvana.
Right. I mean, I remember too hearing a lot of stuff like on the radio, and then starting to see things on MTV. I was young, but yeah, like what was so cool from like when I was born, like, so I get really into the Beatles, and then comes the Beatles anthology. And like when those records came out, it was a big deal. And they just did Anthology 4, and I'm like, I miss the excitement of when those like first albums came. It was like a rebirth of the Beatles for a whole different generation. Like, me and my good buddy Jeff Beam, we were talking about it because we geek out about the anthology stuff. But like for us, we grew up we were both the same age. Some of those anthology versions are like the actual go-to tracks for us. We don't even think about like the album version because we listened to the anthology version so much when we were kids, so it's just interesting, that timing wise with all of that. So
it's funny that
makes sense. Yeah.
In your generation, it was interesting that being a Beatles fan, that how anthology was one of those moments for you, but me, because I was in college, it was 87 when the Beatles CDs came out.
Yeah, right? Wow.
Now, at the time, it was a big deal. There was like a store in Grandview, Ohio, in Grandview, Ohio, called For the Record, and they would, what they did, they opened up midnight before, and people would line up.
Sure.
It was a big deal because everybody, CDs had been around, 83 or so, and Beatles never got any kind of props other than that one Black Triangle CD, the Japanese Abbey Road.
Oh, really? I don't know about that. No.
That is, you can quote me on this, Kurt, the best sounding version of Abbey Road on CD. You go to the Steve Hoffman site, look it up. Look it up. But they pulled it. Parlophone or whatever, EMI at the time, pulled it. Oh, you can't put Beatles stuff out yet. That's like 83 when they started with that.
Right.
But now I went on another damn tangent. But anyway, so 87, when the first 3 Beatle albums came out on CD, it was a big deal. It's just weird how different generations, how to you it was anthology. Me, it was just like, they're doing a special on the Beatles on TV. Great. Awesome. I'll tune in. But
yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, like I think when Get Back came out, for Beatles fans, I think that was a pretty big deal for me.
Did you see that in the theater when they projected it?
I wish I did. No, I was just watching it that must have been unreal,
Okay, remember, they did the Shea Stadium thing. Remember when we're talking Beatles. All right. Ron Howard did that documentary. Okay. Well, Ron Howard did that documentary. You remember several years ago.
So the touring one. Yeah.
And I saw that in the theater. You saw that in the theater, and they showed Shea Stadium.
Right. Yes.
Hurt.
That was wild, huh?
That was phenomenal.
I saw that in Spain, actually. Yeah.
But wasn't it beautiful to see that footage all, restored?
Right.
Beautiful colors.
Yeah, great
good
print.
Sound. I was sitting there and I took my son, and his favorite band is the Smiths.
Oh,
and
okay.
he appreciates the Beatles, but he always thought that the Smiths it was the Smiths for him.
Well, that's great. I mean, they're a fantastic band too. I mean, I love Johnny Marr,
as a player, but songwriters, Jesus.
Going into the Manchester thing, like I'm a really big Oasis fan, but honestly, when What's the Story Morning Glory came out in the States, I remember it because I was like really into the Beatles. And so like some of my friends were like, Kurt, you should check out Oasis if you like the Beatles. And I'm like, no, I don't want to listen to a Beatles ripoff band. A lot
of people still think that.
Well, the thing is that over time I was like, I finally got it. I finally got Oasis. And what I love about Oasis, and in the same way as the Beatles, is, regardless of what you think of the brothers and what they say and all of that, their music it's positive. It's a positive force. Their music does not emit negativity. And that's something about the Beatles too, which I love. And that's kind of what I try to do myself with my own music. Like,
I hear that.
It's for me, and I'm not going to knock anyone for wanting to just do, downer songs or express, sadness. I mean, sadness can be expressed in many different ways, but I guess like kind of just negative feelings. So, I'm not going to knock anyone for doing that, because I think that there's a space that should exist and belong. But it's not the kind of music that I want to make. So I'm going to take the other side of that. And that's why I'm drawn to bands like, the Beatles and Oasis for that kind of positive thing. And I never really got so huge on the Smiths. Like, they're not my favorite band, but probably because of that, because when, I guess, there's just a different vibe there. So like, I'm really drawn to music that just automatically just makes you just feel good and want to just,
Yeah, I wouldn't say that a lot of the Smith stuff actually makes you feel good.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
That I'll tell you, when you look at a lot of these artists and bands, like I've talked to a lot of younger people, I'm just curious. I don't want to go on a tangent, but I have a question. How do you look at record production what's your thoughts on modern day record production? Like, we're like in the amidst of, still we have the loudness wars. Everything's maximized. There's no dynamic range. Where am I going with this? I'm all worked up, Kurt.
Well, modern day music production. It can go, yeah.
But like this, look at the Smiths. Now, you listen to a Smith song, I think it still stands up because it avoided a lot of those pitfalls that people fell into in the 80s. The gated drums, the digital keyboards, things like that did not age well.
It's organic. It's real. Right. I think you need to have that sense of realness and an organic approach to music production to really ultimately affect you as a human. So if it's done, kind of with the analog mindset, you're going to be able to reach the elements or the psyche that in your mind, it's going to connect quicker. You're going to be able to relate to it. I don't know if I'm making sense, but what I mean?
I get it.
Like, so, there's space for, kind of more synthesized electronic music. It serves its purpose to make, people dance and, all of that. But when it comes to rock and roll records, rock and roll is a human organic beast. It's a real thing. So you got to convey it that way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, when I'm thinking about, music production and the records that I've produced, that's it. We're not fucking around with, synthesized stuff a lot, so
like a lot of people use okay, you're gonna have to help me because I've watched some of these guys, the studio shows, and they use a lot of patches. So like a lot of the production today, what is it? Pro Tools, you can download a patch, and a lot of the records all sound the same. The beautiful thing, you got to keep it organic. You've kept it organic with this new single, and your catalog. Let's be honest. Yes. It sounds modern enough, but then it's got roots in the past that when you listen to Undertoe Afterglow, you're not sitting there. I don't want to go to the other side of the room and vomit in the corner.
There we go.
Because it's got roots in the past, but then it still has enough sparkle that sounds modern. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. For me, that's kind of always been my approach because I do like when bands go make a record and it sounds just like 1977. I respect that, and I like it because it reminds me of those great records made in '77, or
Well,
but for me,
100%.
It's hard. I want to find that middle area. I want to respect those old recordings, those old techniques, those old approaches, but life is always moving forward, and that's kind of how art should be as well. And I'm not reinventing the wheel at all with my music. It's very just simple stuff, but I want to keep it fresh. I want to keep it fresh sounding. And I want it to be able to still be important today. Like I want it to be music that stands up to, whatever anyone else is putting out. because I'm here right now and I'm doing it, and I want people to come out to my shows and
Yeah,
so
do you have any shows coming up?
I don't actually at the moment. Currently I'm thinking about I want to do something here in New York City kind of to promote the single. I'm not really in a rush, but I want to take advantage of the fact that there's so many great people to play with here in this city, and there's great clubs and venues to play. So I'm not rushing into anything, but I am putting together a lineup here in the city to do some gigs soon. So hopefully something will happen in the spring. And kind of just my approach with this new lineup is to kind of look back into my catalog, because I have a lot of records, and I got kind of stuck playing the same 15 songs, and so I'm kind of now revisiting some of these older records that I did and be like, okay, maybe play one of these tracks that I've never done before, because it would be fun for me to do something new, and I'm lucky to have a lot of material to choose from.
Yeah, so you've got a large catalog. I think you should. Well, you have to keep it fresh. And I bet you some of the people that probably are fans of your work want to hear those tracks.
Yeah, totally.
I've always heard about, you had the Kiss cruise, and I've always heard, Kiss will always bring out some tracks and play some songs on the Kiss cruise that are like people have always requested, and they never play it. Right. I saw Kiss in 98, they're just going to play all the regular stuff. They're not going to go deep. And it's always great that maybe, for true fans, they want to hear that deep stuff.
Well, I love my fans, and I love like the support that they've always given me. And it means so much. And I think like the response that I've been getting with this new single has really just blown me away, because I really kind of took a break from releasing stuff. I had some digital singles come out last year, a couple, and then those were tracks that were kind of left over from my last full-length album. So it was kind of like a palate cleanse of sorts. But then, I got here to New York, and just so much happened, and I wasn't really able to get myself grounded enough to even think about, doing a new record or making new music. But luckily, with my buddy Dan Miraldi, like, with everything that we're writing right now, he's been really such a great influence for me to like get back to focusing on the music. But, having such a great response and seeing how much people enjoy it really has gotten me like, all right, now I want to get back to this.
I can tell you're ready to go. I mean? Well, I'm excited. I want to hear more. I love it. I do. I just heard those, and I went, shit, I got to talk to this guy.
All right. Well, I'm loving talking to you, man. It's great. Yeah.
Well, it's loose. We went on a lot of tangents.
Yeah. A lot about the Beatles, but hey,
it's just a couple of guys hanging out in a record store talking music. That's what it was, ladies and gentlemen. Right. So if people are going to go out and find this single, how do we find it? I know it's on Wicked Cool, but.
So, yeah, I mean, honestly, the best way to do it, if you want a 45 on vinyl, go to my Bandcamp. I've got it. It's kurtbaker.bandcamp.com. I'll send you the record myself, and then, anything else that I put out, it's available. Obviously you can stream it on any platform that you want, but in terms of LPs and things like that, wickedcoolrecords.com.
Wicked Cool Records, right.
Anywhere that you buy records from, the distribution that we have with Wicked Cool is good. So, your independent music retailers, if they don't have it in the shop, they can order it, so yeah.
All right, cool. I guess we've done it, Kurt.
Yeah, we sure did, didn't we?
We went over a lot of topics. All right, kid. Well, we can wrap this dog up.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, go check out some Kurt Baker. Check out the new single. I'll put the links down below. You can go check them out there. Wicked Cool. Well, if there's any kind of Well, I can link. I'll set your links up to Bandcamp.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I'll throw the links down below.
Just put it, like, do a little search, grab whatever you see.
And we'll just do it.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Exactly.
Awesome. Cool. All right, everybody. Give Kurt some love. We will see you in the warehouse. What's next in the warehouse? I don't know. I've been doing, there's a lot going on all the time.
That's good.
I'm very busy, Kurt.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see everybody. Keep it clean. Wrap the rascal. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, everyone.